So you're a new player to Star Citizen, and the guides you've been following don't quite match the look of where you currently are. That's because you've realized that you are in Pyro, the lawless system that new players are not recommended to start in, as a random passerby is more likely to blow you up than to help you. This new player guide then is going to be a supplementary guide to my definitive new player guide, which you may have already seen on YouTube, which means that my original guide will help you with some of the basics, while this one will focus primarily on getting you safely to the Stanton system, while going over again some of the basic things you'll absolutely need in order to escape. Plus, I'll show you a way to earn a little bit of easy cash before you make your way back to the Stanton system that you can only do here in the Pyro system if you're willing to put yourself out there just a little bit. So check your doors and corners, kid, and don't forget your helmet on the way out the airlock. If you've ended up in Pyro because you skipped the tutorial, you'll have ended up in one of 3 main stations: Rune Station, Checkmate, and Obituary, and they're each laid out quite differently, but their services are roughly the same. I'm going to be starting in Obituary since it's on the bottom of the list. I assume many of you have started there, and if you're logging back in now, you'll also find yourself in one of the HABs. They're quite a bit smaller than the main cities in the Stanton system, so you're only left with a tiny space with an inventory, but here at this point you probably don't have anything there for you to equip, so we're gonna have to go get you set up and ready to defend yourself and escape successfully. So make your way back out into the hallway and locate the elevators that will take you down to the main part of the station. A reminder here is that you can use F1 to open your Mobiglass to use the map system to find out where you need to go relative to your current position to find said elevators, but it's pretty simple in this first step. Just as I said in the main guide, if you go near to the elevator button panel, you can just press F by looking at it, or hold F to use your mouse to press an individual floor, like I'm doing here now inside the elevator where I'm selecting lobby at the bottom of the screen. Once you arrive in the lobby area, you'll find yourself in a dilapidated, rundown station regardless of which you've ended up in. Not to worry, just stick to yourself and don't eat any of the street food. It's definitely not what they're telling you it is. Next, hitting F1 on your keyboard again to open up your Mobiglass, you're going to go down to the Maps application. Here I want you to find the weapons shop and set route to it by putting your mouse over the location and tapping R on your keyboard. The minimap in the upper left-hand corner of your screen should now show you the location you need to go to. Along the way, feel free to explore just a little bit, but don't go in anything labeled contested zone just yet, because that's one of those locations where you'll definitely end up getting shot. Along the way, you'll also see some storage kiosks. Keep a mental note of where you see them, because we'll have to return to one of these a little bit later. The shop you're looking for has a pretty obvious looking front entrance. It says guns on it. You can't miss it once you see it. Once you're inside, you're going to be looking for a kiosk, typically towards the back of the room. You'll also find a bunch of weapons and armor laid out that you can actually buy directly from the shelf by holding F, but we're going to use the kiosk because we need some specific things. What I like you to get is the Arden Light Armor set because it's less expensive and it won't attract too much attention. First, you're going to want to prioritize buying the chest piece and the backpack to store items, but if you've got a little bit of extra cash on hand, buy the full set, like the arms, the legs, and the helmet. This kit won't provide you a huge amount of protection, but it'll be enough just to get you started. Plus, it has the benefit of being visually less easy to detect, as well as being quite light, so you'll be able to run quickly and get out of trouble if you need to if you're facing off against players who are likely going to be in heavy armor. And we're not going to buy that heavy armor just now because it's quite expensive and you're probably short on funds, plus there's an easy way to get a heavy set that I'll show you later in the video. I also recommend purchasing a weapon. Although you get a sidearm by default, it's not super good, so the P4AR is a solid choice if you've got the extra funds. Otherwise, the LH86 is a good pistol on a budget that fires at full auto and can dispatch NPCs and players alike with a little bit of focus fire. Don't forget to purchase the ammo for the weapon you've selected, which is easy to find by just searching in the bar the name of the weapon, which will also show you the magazines associated with it. Once you've purchased everything, you might be curious how to get this stuff on your body. Well, we need to go back to one of those storage kiosks because in Star Citizen, this is how we access our personal inventory. It's a localized physical location that can't be accessed outside of the location it's attributed to. So this local inventory is specific to this space station and can only be accessed while you are here from one of these kiosks. Equipping stuff is simply done by dragging and dropping them onto your body or by double-clicking them inside of the menu, which will automatically equip them to your person on an available slot. If there's not one available, it will swap out whatever you've already got in said slot. Since we're running light armor here, we'll only have 4 slots for magazines. You can throw any extras then in your backpack from which you can reload automatically. It just takes a little bit of extra time. Next, I want you guys to find the medical clinic. It might not be labeled right now, so you'll have to just look for a room that looks like it has a cross on the floor. I want you to set your next waypoint here. If you can't do so, you'll have to navigate and find it visually. It looks like this. They all look pretty similar because we're gonna have to get here to find some additional medical devices to save us in case we get injured, which again is quite likely here in Pyro where everything wants to kill you. You'll next need to locate the medical shop kiosk, which will be different than some of the other kiosks you'll see about this facility. And here you'll need to find medical pens. They're red ones that look like this, and you can purchase them directly now to your backpack since it has an inventory. So select it from the drop down and then purchase up to 4 if you need to equip to your body. Light armor though only has slots for 2 to 3 depending on the set you're wearing. To access your character inventory, just hit I anywhere in the game and it'll pop up what's in your backpack or armor, and from there you can drag and drop or double click like we did with the storage kiosk. Our next stop is to get a multi-tool. This device is an absolute necessity on every outing playing Star Citizen as it's used in pretty much every single loop. They can be found by going to the cargo deck through the hangar transit elevators located in the main ASOP terminal area. It's the biggest location on the map, so it should be pretty easy to find. And before you get into that space, right before you arrive, you'll find yourself at a checkpoint, and I want you to stop here for a moment and take a look around. There is an opportunity here to get some free loot to prevent you from having to buy some of the necessities you'll need later. So if you take a moment to find this scaffolding I'm showing you here, look for a piece of scaffolding or grating that's hanging down that looks like you can grab onto it. If you jump just nearby it, you should grab the ledge and pull yourself up, and there you might find one of these red and gray boxes. Approaching them and using the F prompt to open them will reveal a menu that looks like this, and from here you can hold left shift and left click to directly put them into your backpack. Alternatively, you could use the UI to drag and drop them into the available slots or just double click them. Here, if you're lucky, you'll find a couple of multi-tools and even some attachments. If not, no worries, there's other locations you can find, like in the upper scaffolding towards the ceiling or in the lower area just adjacent to the ASOP terminals. But if you still have no luck, no worries, there's a place where you can buy them for certain, and that's where I'll take you next. Let's head on down to the elevators on the lowest floor, which you'll find by following the transit elevator signage. Along the way, you'll probably spot some of these ASOP terminals. We'll need to return to these a little later to get our ship, but that's a later step. We're gonna look for those elevators though first, and inside the elevator, we're gonna wanna find from the drop-down menu, the cargo deck. Once you're there, you're going to want to make your way all the way to the back of the shop, and that's where you'll find the multi-tool with the kiosk you'll need to access to purchase the attachments. The one we're looking for, if you didn't already loot it, is the True Hold Tractor Beam attachment. Go ahead and buy that. It should go to your local inventory or your backpack if you've selected it. And don't forget to buy a multi-tool if you don't already have one. Before we head back to the main ASOP terminal area that we just came from, you can stop at the ship sale deck if you're curious to find out what ships are available to purchase here at this station once you earn enough money, though you're not going to be there yet. These are quite expensive to purchase, but it gives you something to work towards, like this really cool looking Drake Light Fighter Buccaneer. But once you made your way back onto the main terminal floor, find one of those kiosks once again and equip your new multi-tool, and afterward you should be ready to go. You should now have a set of med pens, a multi-tool, a sidearm, a chest piece, a backpack, and the ammo that I told you to get for the weapon that you've selected. You should now be prepared for the next optional step to this guide. If you don't want to do what I'm about to tell you, you can skip ahead to the exiting station section, which I'll have bookmarked for you. But if you did want to make a few extra bucks before you leave the Pyro system, plus get the blood flowing a little bit, well, the next step should be pretty exciting. We're gonna enter those contested zones I told you not to enter earlier. And the reason why I'm recommending it to you today is because of the item recovery system that they recently added in. When you die now in Star Citizen, you don't lose your weapon, your ammo, or your armor. You only lose what's in your backpack. So you're going in now with very little risk. Now, right now you're in what's called a safe zone. But in most places outside of space stations, even in the Stanton system, you're able to draw a weapon, which means that other players can do the same and potentially kill you on sight. Well, these contested areas of the station are just such an area. Once you enter these areas, it's a free-for-all. Players are more likely to kill you than to help you, and NPCs certainly will not hesitate to do so. There's also the danger of the environment, such as landmines, as well as sheer drops into the abandoned sections of the station. So be careful and take your time as you enter this area. You'll know when you've entered the danger area when you arrive at one of these big airlocks, and at this point you're going to want to draw your weapon and prepare yourself for when you get through it, because because at that point is where you're likely to encounter players or NPCs almost immediately. Now that you've entered, you're going to be on the lookout for a couple of things. These fuse boxes you locate are going to be useful for opening doors that get you deeper into the station, so grab them if you see them and throw them in your backpack. Next, you're going to want to be looking for loot boxes. They come in all shapes and sizes, and you can usually find out if they're lootable if there's an icon that appears above them when you approach them. What we're going to be looking for a quick, easy buck is actually rare and expensive ammo, like for railguns, rocket launchers, and for grenade launchers. This stuff sells for around 2k a piece, so if you get enough of these and sell them outside, well, you'll have a pretty penny to take back with you to Stanton. But you're also not going to want to shy away from a fight with an NPC because you can take their weapons and armor if they're better than what you're wearing right now. Now, this is a good point in the video to talk about injury and healing yourself. Once you get shot and you lose some health, you're going to want to heal yourself up, and you've already purchased a number of med pens that can bring your health back up to 100%. To use them, hit 4 on your keyboard, or hit C to withdraw them, and then left click in order to use them. This should bring your health back up to 100%, but don't use them as a crutch. You're going to want to use cover and tactics in order to get the advantage as opposed to constantly healing yourself, as there is a consequence to eventually getting injured too much. You'll get permanent injuries to your arms or legs where you'll start to struggle to move or breathe, and it'll just make it harder to survive before you eventually kick the bucket. Once you win your first engagement, you'll be able to loot the bodies of these NPCs or players by approaching them and hitting F when the icon appears. You might need to move around a bit to get it to work. It's a little bit tricky right now, and they definitely need to work on this. But you should be presented with a loot menu that looks something like this. Now, just like the menus we've seen before, you can double click to equip on an empty slot, but since you're already wearing armor, you're going to want to swap things over, and you can do that by clicking on the weapon and armor swapping down below by clicking swap view, and you can double click which you want to swap onto your body from what you've looted. Now, this doesn't always work super well, and if you need to, you can just click the arrow in the upper right hand corner of the screen to open up the character card screen. This will allow you to drag and drop stuff or drop stuff on the ground if you need to if swapping's not working. Just remember to take stuff off of your pants before you do it, or the stuff might drop off your body with the pants as you take them off, for example. This is definitely one of the parts, again, that needs to improve with Star Citizen. The UI definitely still needs help. Eventually though, when you're ready to risk a little bit more and press further into the space station, you're gonna come across some of these yellow doors which are locked. To open them, you're gonna need the fuses I showed you earlier. Once you've got them ready to go and in your backpack, you can approach the door nearby the button panel where you'll see an empty slot. This is where the fuse goes, and if you've got it in your backpack, you simply approach it, holster your weapon by holding R, and click on Insert Fuse, and it should automatically withdraw it from your backpack and place it in the slot. Now be aware, once these doors open, there could be players on the other side or NPCs, so be ready to shoot, but if it's safe, don't forget to grab the fuse outside of the open door before you proceed, as it'll prevent anybody from following you without having a fuse themselves. There are other deeper areas you'll need special key cards for. Some require you leave the space station to go to a special location to get, or find a key card printer, but that's for another video. Congratulations, then you might have picked yourself up a nice set of heavy armor and maybe even a heavy LMG like this one. How much you want to risk and how deep you want to go is completely up to you and your level of skill. I encourage you to just take it easy at first while you learn the ropes and take back what you can to make some money. There's no point in risking too much this early on. Once you get back to the safe area, you can find one of the shops and use the sell tab to sell directly from your backpack or your local inventory, depending on if you moved anything back there. And if you've got a bit of extra funds, you may want to also upgrade your backpack to a medium or heavy depending on what type of armor you've equipped. Heavy armor can equip heavy backpacks, medium armor only medium backpacks and small ones, and so on. Alright, so by now you should have a pretty sweet set of armor, a weapon, maybe even a bit of cash, and hopefully you've not pissed off the locals too much and you're ready to escape over to the Stanton system. Well, now it's time for us to revisit those ASOP terminals I told you about earlier. This is where we're going to find your ship for the first time. On your initial outing, you'll need to deliver it by hitting the deliver button, which will bring it to the station, and then you'll need to retrieve it, which will send it to your hangar. If you've got any special paint or kit you want to equip to your ship, you can do that through the Mobiglass and Vehicles tab and go to the drop down to select your own personal ship. Here you'll be able to equip different things like paint and armor and different components once you upgrade, but this is a more advanced thing, and it's a great way to maybe just familiarize yourself with the system while you learn Star Citizen. Once you're ready to go, you'll be able to go to the elevators, and from the menu, select your name's own small hangar or large hangar, depending on which ship you bought as your starter package. Typically, starter ships will give you a small hangar, and as you upgrade, you'll get bigger and bigger hangars with more storage area. Now, if you want to know more about personal hangars, you'll find that in the main guide that I told you about earlier, but here we're just going to go straight to the ASOP terminal here and make sure that we've retrieved our ship if it's not already on the pad. If not, you can hit it here and treat yourself to a pretty cool animation. Now, the Pyro stations aren't as pretty as the ones in Stanton, so it might not be quite as well lit, but you can use this opportunity to take a look around your ship, like I am here of my Avenger Titan starter package. This is the one, by the way, that I recommend all players get as they're starting in Star Citizen because it just offers the best all-around package, but you can do whatever you think is best for you. Again, watch that original video I told you about for more information on what type of starter ship you should get. Once you're ready to go, head on over to the cockpit and get ready to take off. Now, in this part of the guide, I'm not going to reiterate what I said in the other one, which goes much more into detail about your MFDs and getting started and general flight basics. So I'm going to assume that you have a general knowledge of how to do this. Hitting Alt-R will turn on all your ship systems, and once you're ready to go, you'll want to gently lift off so as not to slam into the ceiling and blow up. I do this by tapping the spacebar. Once you're ready to open the doors, you'll need to contact ATC either through the MFDs or through your Mobiglass comm menus and select the Obituary Station. Here you'll hit the contact button, which will automatically start opening the doors to prepare you for taking off. By default, your landing gear will make you move at a slower rate, so to go a little bit faster, once you're ready and clear of the doors of the space station, go ahead and tap the N button to bring up your landing gear. Once you've left the station, not to alarm you, you're at full risk of being shot by players, so you're going to want to be pretty quick about this. Go into your menu and set your navigation point to the Stanton Gateway. You can do this by using the search function in the upper left-hand corner or manually clicking it on the map. Type in Stanton, it should give you Stanton Gateway, and then select Route, which will just make it a little bit easier to navigate to it for your first go. Once it's set, exit your Mobiglass and then hold B to swap over to navigation mode from SCM mode, which will disable your shields and weapons but allow you to jump and fly a little faster. Once aligned and ready with all systems green, left click to get started, and it's going to take a few minutes to get there with a basic quantum drive. So go maybe grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax, and enjoy the light show as you approach. If all things have gone well, you should find yourself in a place that looks quite similar to this. And if you think this place looks dangerous, you'd be right. You are still in danger. Well, on this side of the Pyro Gateway, you are definitely at risk of being shot by players. So I'd just carefully make your way on over to the jump point. That's the glowing ball that may or may not be open. If it's not open, don't worry, you'll just need to approach it and warm up your drives while in nav mode and left click to send over a charge to open up the jump point. It may again already be open, so if it is, you just need to casually approach it and prepare to be pulled in. But as you go in, don't let go of the control stick or the mouse, depending on how you're navigating, because this is not an animation. This is actually happening, and you need to fly your ship. Allowing your ship to hit the walls of the jump point tunnel too much will cause damage to the ship, or worse, throw you out randomly in between the Stanton and the Pyro system, where you probably won't have enough fuel to get out of there. And well, at that point, you just have to self-destruct because there's no hope. Good luck, and once you make it to the other side, congratulations, you've made it to safety. Hopefully you didn't die too many times trying to get to this point. From here, I recommend you make your way over to the Microtech area of the Stanton system, which is where my guide is set to go. And from there, you can just pick up where you might have picked up if you'd have started there in the first place. You can choose to go to New Babbage or to the station above. First though, you'll need to refuel, and this is where you'll probably need to stop at the space station just adjacent to the Pyro Gateway. There, you'll want to go up, and just as we did when we took off, we'll have to request ATC access for landing. It'll assign you a pad with a UI element on your screen. There, navigate very carefully by deploying the landing gear as you approach to slow down your speed and set down gently on the pad. Here, access your Mobiglass and go to the Ship Services landing tab on the lower right hand corner and find the refuel and rearm button and repair if you need if you've gotten shot at. From here, you just need to remember what you were taught, but you're not out of the water yet. Although you are safely in the Stanton system, if you die right now, you will be sent right back to Pyro and need to reset. In fact, that may have already happened to you once, twice, or 3 times. It's pretty common for a new player learning the ropes, might run into the side of the hangar or just die from some random cause while out in the verse. The final lesson of today's guide then is going to teach you how to reset the place that you spawn in once you die. To do this, we're going to have to make our way first to New Babbage or wherever your destination is and go to the space station in orbit of the main planet. I'm going to Microtech today, so it's going to be the low orbital station by the name of Port Tressler, which you can also find on the map to set your navigation point to, just as we just did in the Pyro system. Once there, you're going to want to find the better looking version of the medical clinic than you saw in Pyro, one that's not dilapidated and dysfunctional, and find the insurance terminals located within. This one is called the Olympus Principal Insurance System, and there's some kiosks right below it. Here you'll be able to reset your respawn point from Pyro to that location, and now each time you die until you reset it, this is where you will end up. From there, it's a simple matter of remembering all the things I've taught you so far. Hopefully, you're well now on your way to learning how to play Star Citizen, and I genuinely hope that you enjoy the next hours of your play session. I hope this guide has helped you out, and if there are things you're not certain about, make sure you check out my other full player guide, which goes into far more detail about every aspect of Star Citizen for your first time out. I've also curated a list of guides to ships as well as other aspects of the game if you're feeling you're a bit more advanced now. You can also find my Armco community in the description below, where you'll find an active group of players who love playing the game and are ready to help you out, including myself. I hang out there with the community all the time, so don't be a stranger, head on over if you get a chance. Good luck, Star Citizen, and here's to clear skies. See you in the next one.